and then you get kicked off.
This shit's fire.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another live Pin the Gas podcast. You guys just seen me yesterday, right? I got a couple of these coming, but listen, first and foremost, before we get started, this episode is brought to you by Bison. Anybody out there looking for a leather suit, don't buy an off-the-rack suit. Get you a custom suit from Bison. You can get it any style, any color, gloves, chest protector, undersuit, the whole nine. Simply amazing people. Trust me, when you meet Robert and Tasha, it changes you. Their aura, their energy, they're just magical people, and they're very good. And I love everything that they stand for, and they're absolutely amazing people, and their products are too. And you guys can use this discount code PINTHEGAS 2024 and get 10% off everything at Bison. So do me a favor right now, stop what you're doing and go join the herd. But listen, everybody, welcome to another podcast. It's an absolute honor to have my man Seth Starnes on the show, dude. What is up, man?
What's going on? Happy Friday.
Yeah, dude, right? Absolutely. Happy Friday. Happy Memorial Day to everybody. I hope everybody's got good plans and you plan on spending some time with your loved ones, because yeah, it's absolutely important. Look, we already got some comments coming in right now, but we will get to you guys here in a minute. Yeah, I want to get into this, Seth, dude. Let's take it from the very beginning, man. How did you actually get into motorcycles at a young age?
I wish I got into motorcycles at a young age. When I went to college, 2002, my roommate bought a motorcycle and never rode the thing. So I was driving like 30 minutes to work in my truck, and one day got the bright idea to take his motorcycle to work. I thought it would be fun, and pretty much adopted his motorcycle for the next year. And I put so many miles on his motorcycle that he had me basically go buy my own. So for my 19th birthday, I somehow convinced my father to let me go buy a motorcycle without killing me. My mom was not having it, and my dad thought it was hilarious. So I bought it, drove it straight home, let him ride it. He thought it was the greatest thing ever. So he made the mistake of saying that if he got chased by a cop on something this fast, there's no way he would get caught by the police. I didn't think twice about it. And then like a month later, friends of ours were driving to bike night or something, and, blue lights. And I'm like, well, Dad said. So I lit out. We ran from the cops, got away. I got the best adrenaline rush of my life. And then that turned into like a habitual Friday night activity where we would literally go entice the police to chase us.
Yeah.
And I ended up on the news one day. And then their town was small enough that the police officers recognized the bike, and they called my dad and had a little conversation about, going to jail and such. So he was motivated to get me off the street. Another friend that I met riding took me to VIR to track day. And it was actually race school, corner speed race school with Aaron and Stevenson. It was a great experience. And I was 285 pounds. I rented the biggest suit that Vance and Leathers made. And I won the mock race somehow. I don't even know. And pretty much, I never left the track after that. I've been at a racetrack almost every weekend of my life since 2004. So 20 years of amazing, pretty much amazing. So
that's absolutely amazing. And dude, I used to do the same thing. I used to run from the police on my bike. They used to come to my parents' house at like 2:00 in the morning, knocking on the door with a warrant to open up the garage door so they could feel my bike to see if it was hot. So, because they could never catch me. And I always
happened. Yeah,
dude. So yeah, dude. And I would take my tag off. I was smart. I'm like, I ain't even running my license plate, right? There's no way you it was me. And then I was always like, I let my buddy borrow my bike, right? And they're like, blah, 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 all this. And my dad was like, dude, you have got to stop this shit. Like, for real. Like, you're going to end up killing yourself. So, yeah, it's, we're all there, right? It's all squidding, part of the game, growing up.
Yeah. I got super lucky. When I got into the trouble, my dad made me a deal that if I was, like I said, I was 280 pounds. So my dad made me a deal. He's like, look, you can't race motorcycles at 300 pounds. So if you lose 50 pounds, I'll buy you a used race bike and just see what happens. So I lost 50 pounds from November to March of 2005. And then March of 2005 for my birthday, he bought me a 2002 GSXR 600 from Tim Vosnick, one of the Weir guys. And totally clapped out used race bike. But I didn't. Here's the best part. I took the bike to GMD. They sprung it for my 220-pound ass, and I took it to Weira, the first season opener at Roebling Road, mid March, and I literally I rolled the bike over to the Dunlop trailer and put the rear stand down and handed the guy my dad's credit card. And I was like, "Hey, I'm here for tires." And the guy's like, "Well, where are your tires?" And I'm like, "The bike's right there." And he's like, "This is obviously your first day here." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "You're going to need to go back to the pit, get a 36 millimeter socket and take the wheels off the bike and clean them and then bring them back to me because we don't do full service tire changes here. I don't know where you come from, but that's not how it works here." And I'm like, okay. We're like driving around the pit on a scooter asking people, can I borrow their 36 millimeter socket and a 1/2-inch drive ratchet to be able to take the tires off the bike. I had literally no clue what was going on, but instantly did really good there. And I had a great time. And just like the speed and the adrenaline for me was always amazing. So it was kind of like the first 3 or 4 years of racing was literally just like, how fast am I supposed to go? Okay. And then, by the end of the weekend we were doing it or the thing was in a box. So it was so much fun. And then the ups and downs and the highs and lows and the thrills of it was just that much more adrenaline and excitement. And then spending time with my dad was taking me everywhere and riding with me and keeping an eye on me, help me pit and help me crew chief. So, we didn't know anything about motorcycles. He had a construction business, right? So it's like hammer and nails and nuts and bolts were two totally different worlds, but we were good with our hands, but we didn't know what we were doing, right? So I can't tell you how many stories that, we had of like trying to fix something or break something. And halfway through my first year racing, I met Tim Hunt and a group of his friends from Tennessee. And, it was just like we all took turns crashing into each other and loaning each other parts and bikes and help and support. And by the end of the year, it was like the most, friendly camaraderie you could imagine, right? It's like, crash each other into the wall and then go hand you a bike or hand you some spare parts because we still want to race you. So that, it just that part of it was even more addicting. So, I quit school. I quit college halfway through and just went racing full time and working with my dad to be able to pay for it. And that was amazing. So
that is amazing. That's an amazing story. I love the camaraderie between a father and son and going all in to the unknown and making it happen, right? And not only that, Seth, the time you spend with your dad on those years doing it, man, is everything. It's, you'll never get it back. And it's something that I would cherish in my life. I always cherish the time with my dad right now. Because me and my dad, I don't talk about this a lot. And nobody knows this. I never, how do I want to say this? I never met the guy that got my mom pregnant. Never met the dude before my life. My dad had adopted me when I was 4, 6. And I grew up in the Navy, so I never seen him, right? So me and him never really had a relationship. I was always rowdy, rambunctious, ADHD, off the wall. So when he come home, he wouldn't know how to handle me, right? Because I was just bing, 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 bing. And then fast forward, I go to MMI, and man, after I moved out the house and I started doing my own thing, man, it was just something just clicked, right? And now we're the best friends ever. I wish that's something I had back then, right? But moving forward, man, I spend a lot of time with my dad. I go there once or twice a week. We cook together. We eat together. We used to ride together. He stopped riding, but we watched the races. He'll come to Moto America with me, like all that stuff, right? So it's when I hear stories like that, it's simply amazing. It really is. For
yeah,
sure.
definitely got super lucky with that. My mom was super, she was never anti it, but she definitely wasn't all about it. And then, we got to a point where, like my first year, we were amateur, and then the second year was 07 was my first, like my second full season. I did the first 6 months as an expert, and then I begged and pleaded John Ulrich to write me a letter to the AMA to let me race professionally, even though you're supposed to have 300 points in a year of riding. So I did enough begging and pleading with him to where he wrote me a letter. Morgan Broadhead said, okay. And then they let me go I did the Weir National Round at Miller Motorsports Park in 07. And I was running really well. So they approved. I did Sunday's race. I got like top 3 or something in the Weir National on the 1,000. And I had a fully prep bike that was totally Moto America. Well, I'm AMA at the time, super stock legal. So I did some begging and pleading, and so did John Ulrich, and they let me ride. So they overnighted my life. I overnighted all the paperwork to Ohio. They overnighted all the paperwork back to some post office in Utah, in the middle of nowhere. And I got to register and sign up for the Super Stock 1000 race at Miller on World Superbike weekend. So it was like, I mean, you talk about dream come true. It's like I'd only been racing a year and a half total. And I'd only ever been to a track for not even 2 years yet, even actually knew this existed. And I had lost 100 pounds. I had 2 brand new motorcycles with everything in the world on it. Thermosman suspension. Like you couldn't, it wasn't about how much money we spent, but as far as like how you could, on a budget, do it properly, you couldn't have done it much better. And I was getting pretty good results. So that was just so much fun. And the weekend was like, we would go do practice and then come off the bike and go put our stuff up and then go watch World Superbike practice. And I'm like, oh, like you go to turn 1, like I know my brake marker for turn 1 at Miller, right? And then you go watch them and you're like, what? Like they're like a whole 100 yards, 100 feet or whatever. They're at the next brake marker and their bike is a lot faster, right? So and the bike, the whole thing just sucks down and stops and then just throw it in there and black marks on both tires. I'm just like, dude, you're like, holy crap, what is going on? So that was like a really eye-opening experience. And it definitely gave you like that motivation to like keep stepping up your game. Like, if you think you're doing it and then you go watch Ben Spies and Matt Mladen and they're in another time zone. And then you go watch World Superbike and you're like, dude, Ben Spies and Matt Mladen, they didn't let us run the same course, right? We ran the 3-mile course and World Superbike was on the 4-mile course. So our lap times weren't comparable so that they couldn't have this like, measuring contest, right? So it wasn't because Ben Spies and Matt Mladen were so fast at the time that it was just like we got to break out a couple segment times. We talked to the Yosh guys and there's certain segments on the course that were the same. And they were the exact same times as the World Superbikes with the Yosh bikes. So they were like, that's why they don't let them run the same configuration because those boys would be putting down the same lap time as a World Superbike with a Yosh, factory Superbike here in America. What's up? And I'm like, damn. And so we got to like, that was just so much fun. We got to mix it up. And on the way home, we got that weekend, I finished 12th just in front of Chris Ulrich, which was like, to me at the time, I was like, holy crap. Like, just to be in the same race with the guy. And, I know the magazine, I know those guys, and like you coming into the sport, I didn't grow up in it, but coming into the sport, who those people are. So to run with them was like super exciting and fulfilling. I got a call. We were leaving there and we were a cycle jam, which was like the next weekend, right? And back in Atlanta. So we were going to drive coast to coast, middle of the desert back to Atlanta. I got halfway to Atlanta and Morgan Broadhead from AMA called. He was like the race director or whatever you want to call it at the time. And he's like, I got some bad news, good news and bad news. Congratulations. And I'm going to have to meet you in Road Atlanta and I need your license back. And I'm like, excuse me? I was like, didn't I not just do like a whole bunch of stuff? And he's like, yeah, you did everything right. But he's like, on Tuesday when the race aired on TV, 3 people from We're a Southeast racers called and complained that you were an amateur last year and that you won races as an amateur at the GNF last year and that you're on TV in Moto America, AMA, and you don't have a year's experience as an expert licensed racer. And I was like, well, didn't we get around or talk about all that? I've done 10 race weekends. I did like February at Homestead, right? So that I could get 10 race weekends before June. And so I had done 6 nationals and, all kind of big races everything I could do in that 6-month window. And I had 400 points. So like I was well into it. My lap times spoke for themselves. I finished mid pack in the stock 1000 race, my first race ever at a track I've never been to. So he's like, well, it is what it is. We've had a meeting and I'll see you in Atlanta. So he literally came to the cycle jam and he made me hand him my race license in person, give it back to him at Cycle Jam. After he showed up on the first day, we got moved in. He took my license. We just left. I was like, I told my dad, I'm like, look, I can't. You talk about take the wind out of your sails. Like, I had spent countless hours in the gym, on the tread, on anything I could do to like get ready for that. And then like, you know, get on TV. And then like 3 days later, the dude flew to Atlanta to take my license out of my hand. I mean, it wasn't a dick at all. It was just his thing, right? Like that was his job. And he's like, I'm sorry, but he did. So then I had to wait. I finished the season racing Wira and CCS at the time. And then I had to wait for 08 to do like a full season professionally in 08. I had to wait till the next season, which was just like pulling my hair out. And, you know, like they were doing Suzuki money at the time. So every weekend I would go to one of the Suzuki races. It would be Mike Smith or Robert Jensen or Brian Stokes, which at the time were like the Stefanos of the time, or, you know, and even I raced several different people and they were all racing for money. So it was like, I could be first, second, third every weekend. And these guys had been racing for years and years and years. So it was a lot of fun. And I'm, you know, racing against some of the best people, period, that you could get against, and for money. So the second big money race I did at Roebling was against a guy named Mike Smith. He was a former Harley rider. He used to wear tassels on his leather, super famous in the Southeast for the local guys, and everyone in the Weird knew him and stuff. And he followed me around and he let me lead on the stock 1000 race. He let me lead. It was a 6-lap or 8-lap race. He let me lead all the way to the white flag. And then we come out of turn 5 and he literally he come up beside me on the exit of the turn and just slowly just ran me off the track. And I had to like let off the gas, get back on the track, come in behind him, and then we drag race to the finish line. And we were side by side. He won. And I pulled up to him in tech, because we have to post race tech to check the VIN number for super stock, make sure it's a stock bike. And I'm like, dude, what was that about? And he's like, I know who you are. He's like, that's between you and me and $2,500. Welcome to Expert. I'm like, okay, like, what do you say to that? Like, man up, grow up, shut up, right? That's it. Like, there's nothing else to say. Like, you know, there's no participation trophy. Quit crying. So, like, you know, I got $750 and he got $2,500, and I'm like, all right. So, you know, from then on, it was like throwing to the wolves. You know, like we would go to things and race Robert Jensen, and we were just doing insane lap times with this guy. And the Michelin guy's like on pit road laughing at me. He's like, you know, he's like, you don't know what you're up against, because I'm fresh. I'm a first-year expert, and these guys have been racing for 20 years. So I could do the lap times, but they had so much race skill that it was like I learned so much from those guys, because they would literally let me lead an entire race. And I've got my little, you know, I'm excited like a little kid in the candy store. I'm beating Robert Jensen. And then like on the last lap, white flag, and then here he comes completely sideways underneath me in turn 1, skidding the tire, smoking the tire, throwing rubber at me and going like this. Like, I'm just like, okay, again, like, and you know, it was just like that a lot. So my first year expert was definitely getting thrown to the wolves between Miller and those guys. And then, so when I got to race the full season of AMA, that was so much fun. I local tracks and East Coast tracks I could keep in the top 10 usually, and then we'd get out of town and go somewhere I hadn't been to. Sonoma was hard for me. I was 12th or 13th. You know, different tracks. Fontana I had never seen before, and you know, Fontana was really weird. The infield was actually just a bunch of hay bales. Like, it wasn't an actual, like, at least at Daytona, they have a road course. But Fontana was not like that. It was like you drive by the taco stand, and then you take a right at the cone, and then you take a left on the hay bales, and then there's like a chicane with some rumble strips on the ground. And like, it was just like a freaking clown show. But, you know, then you'd be up on the bank and going around turn 1. And then it was just like, I felt like I spent more time lost than anything. And, at the time, Aaron Yates and Jeff May were racing on a Jordan bike, and they were in my class. So, you know, I had this whole, like, you know, they're from Georgia, you know, they're from the Southeast. I'm going to follow them around, and I would try to follow them out in practice and stuff. And one of their mechanics was friendly with one of the guys that was building and tuning my bike. They knew each other for years. So, like, they would be nice enough to tell me the gearing and tell me the spring rates. And because, like, they knew I'm first year, like, I'm not really a threat to Aaron Yates, right? So, like, it wasn't that big a deal to them. They would literally help me set my bike up, the Jordan crew, and then they would demolish me. It was like, I was even fucking I'm like, what just happened? Aaron Yates would come by me doing a wheelie and stuff, and just like spinning the tire and shaking his head and stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, all right.
Come on by, like, yeah, baby, welcome to the show.
all day. Oh, you like that gearing? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Okay.
So that was always fun. And then you just like all the growing pains and learning experiences was great. And then going back to the thing about your dad was like doing that with my dad brought us closer and closer together because it's like going to war with someone. You're all you got, right? So it's like and it's you against everyone. So that was always good. But the thing that I think hooked me the most to the motorcycles was like when we would show up to those races, like there's no love and there's no love lost. But at the same time, like if something were to happen to you on the highway on the side of the road, they'd drive by, someone would stop and help you, that kind of thing. Like the motorcycle people are great people. And I think that's what hooked me the hardest was like even starting the business. And now I've got really good business here in the motorcycle world. And I get paid to take people to the track and help and support. And when I first got there, I felt like there was like no real help. It was kind of like every man for himself. And then after I was there for a while and you make friends and you make connections and people, then you get that like family and that camaraderie and that like, that part of it, I think is like the most addicting part to me. And like everything I've done in the motorcycles and in that world has been very, very successful because like I'm the same as them. We have that shared passion. We have that same like burning desire deep down inside. And it's like, I don't know. I can tell myself all I want. Like I'll be fine if I don't ride this weekend. Then as soon as I put my leathers on and hit down pit road and the thing starts to do a wheelie or something, I'm like, it's like, I know that if motorcycles is a drug, like I'm a crackhead. Like
Facts.
Like, I am a total crackhead. Like the minute I'm on that thing and I flip the visor down and gun it, I'm just like, whatever, there's a switch. Right. And I just have to like try to calm down and like focus because I'm like, I'm not stunning by any means, but like, I like the thing acting up and getting rowdy and dancing around and backing it in and wheeling it and spinning the tire and all that stuff is like, I get the promoters. I have great relationships with all the track day guys and track day promoters and the race works. I know everyone, we all first name basis and phone numbers and emails and all that, but it's like, I can't tell you how many times they've given you that like shake my head emoji and then you come pulling in the pit and they're just like, really?
What are you doing? Yeah, what are you doing, man?
Why? It's like
we done told you 5 times.
Yo, hello.
So what up? What you got?
We're about to throw these poppers outside.
Oh yeah, that sounds like fun.
It does sound like fun.
Enjoy that.
Comes 2 bags in each.
Nice.
2 bags in each box. So.
Well, good. Go have fun and go pop it up.
All right, I'm gonna go pee first.
You guys heard that, didn't you? He's got to go pee first.
You got to take care of business before you start popping off. That's it.
Facts, right? 110%. It's hilarious.
That's it.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So you mentioned your business. This is something I really want to touch base on, right? So showing up the track, how did that vision or idea come into your head to start your business?
Honestly, that's been the blessing of the last 10 years of my life is that it all happened just organically. I got a job right out of college in 13 at an investment bank, and they set me down. The VPs took me to lunch one day, and they were like, "Listen, we know that you're a motorcycle guy and you love motorcycles and you've been racing and all that, but you're going to have to give that up because my son died in a motorcycle accident. I've got a thing about motorcycles, and the last thing that I can deal with is that if something were to happen to you on some weekend that you had off, and then you can't work here because something happened to you on a motorcycle, you got some excuse or you got some injury or whatever." He's like, "We got a lot of time and energy wrapped up in you, and we're going to put a lot of responsibility in your hands with clients' money. And you cannot be managing millions of dollars and racing motorcycles. So you're going to have to pick." And so I went home and slept on that and called my godfather, and lived in Tampa. Charlie Mavros had a ton of bikes, and I call him my godfather. We met at Daytona in 2005, and he's that personality, like Greek from New York, business owner. Like, if there was a mafia guy, he would be the guy that you would picture. He's not, but he would be the guy, right? Like He was that. And I called him and I was like, "Look, I don't know what to do. I'm like, I can't not do motorcycles of no way, shape, or form, regardless of the money." And he was like, "Well, look, I'll help you." He's like, "Go to Florida, figure it out." So I moved to Florida, started doing eBay store with the guys at Motorcourse down here at the Ducati shop. And I ran in their eBay store for a little while. And then that was up and down, a little bit inconsistent. So he helped me a little bit more. And I opened up a little 800-foot shop and started selling parts on eBay, and then I sold one of my motorcycles and I started printing stickers. We were having, when Drippin' Wet was the only graphics guy in town, we were having a hard time. He was busy and we were in Florida and he was up north. So I bought a sticker machine and started making stickers, and quickly realized that there's no money doing that and it's not going anywhere. So I was racing, and some guy walked up to me at the track one day and was like, I had a little box truck and a little setup and all that, and I didn't know the guy at all. He's like, listen, someone said you might do some coaching with me, and I'm like, sure. And he's like, how much? I told him it was like $500 a day. And he's like, okay, well, every time I come from now on, I want you to coach me every time. And I'm like, how often is every time? He's like, well, every time there's a track day, I'm going to come and you're going to coach me, because he's like, when I was racing horses or when I was playing golf, I had a private instructor. He's like, I want the same thing. So every time I come, you're going to be my coach. I'm like, okay. And then the next time he shows up and he's got 2 bikes and all this U-Haul trailer and all this stuff, and he's like, question. He's like, how much would you charge me to just take all this stuff home and then like bring it every time? Because I don't want to deal with that. And I'm like, I don't know, another $500. And he's like, okay. He didn't even blink. So I was like, fine. And then I take it all back. He gives me money and I take it all home. And he calls me. He's like, look, obviously this stuff's going to have an oil change and stuff. We can't just ride it every weekend and never work on it. He's like, can you take it somewhere or can you do it? And I'm like, well, I got to do mine. Might as well do yours. So in between, shipping eBay boxes, I started maintaining his motorcycle and mine. And then it literally just grew from there. It turned in from him to 10 of them to 50 of them to now I've got like 47 motorcycles. I had 67. I scaled down a little bit. I got 47 that live with me. And when they go to the track, I take them to the track, and then I bring them home, service, maintain them. Most of these bikes were all, street bikes that I built. The one behind me was a brand new street bike, 0 miles, SV650. We called Chris Paris, ordered everything he makes, sent him some money. Thank you very much. And then, called the graphics, had them made, brought them in, built the bike. So we do a lot of that, and it's been a blessing. So the guy that I started with in 2017, the first real customer I had, decided that he wanted to do, when CCS got the Daytona 200 for the first time, he wanted to do Daytona 200, and he wanted to do Pikes Peak hill climb. So he called Pikes Peak and offered them $30,000 sponsorship if they would let me and him race, because we weren't like, you need to know someone to get an attaboy to get in there, right? Yeah. So he gave him a $30,000 sponsorship to get his name put on some of the hay bales on top of the mountain, and they let us race. So he just started writing checks. He's like, I want an Aprilia. I want this. He bought me a bike. He bought him a bike. We bought all this stuff. And Daytona 200's coming up. He bought 3 R6s, 3 engines, 3 suits, 3 of everything. And like, I literally built the bikes, prepped them, tested them, checked them, hired people, pit crew, the whole thing. And we went to Daytona. He qualified dead last, made it into the race. He did 7 laps, and Danny Eslick passed him in the chicane fucking sideways on like the 7th lap, scared him to death. He pitted, he quit. He was done. Like, I mean, he was just like, we went to Pikes Peak, and he was like, he's just like, he had the money. It was a bucket list thing. He wanted to be there. He wanted to be a part of the show. He didn't want to come be a fanboy. He wanted to do it. But in reality, he wasn't fast enough to do it. He could ride a motorcycle, but you know what I mean? It's just like, so we spent that whole year just traveling around the country again. We did all the ARMA races. We did the whole series with ARMA. He bought 2 Panigales, and we had 2 1199s. We went to every single race in ARMA for everywhere in the country. And that was amazing. Like I had a Sprinter van at the time, and we hired a guy to literally drive the Sprinter van around with all the stuff in it. And he and I would just fly there, get out, like complete professional savages with our gear bag, like just hilarious. Roll up, ride the bikes. Like I would be working all weekend, like coaching him and helping him and doing all the stuff. Then we'd go race on Sunday, shove all the stuff back in the Sprinter van, hand the dude the keys, hand him the credit card, and leave. And I'm just like, this is like a dream come true. It's my first year of business. I'm like, I don't know where this came from, but thank you, Lord. It was like, so that was awesome. That's how it started. And then once everyone saw what I was doing, then like in the South Florida, that kind of picked up. And that was kind of a business model already in South Florida, where German at Bike Pass Motorsports and Chris Boy at Motorcourse Performance down here, they were already doing something very similar, if not the same thing. So the format was already kind of there. That doesn't really happen anywhere else in the country. I'm from the Southeast, and we raced all over California, and I've met everyone from up north and the Northeast. But there's nowhere else that I've found that the shop builds the bike, maintains the bike, transports the bike, stores the bike, service the bike, fix the bike, improve the bike, and then the customer just shows up in their Corvette or their Porsche or Mercedes and rides the bike all day and then gets in the helicopter and flies home, right? Like that doesn't really happen mostly anywhere. So that was a benefit of being in South Florida on that part of the business, and that it just kind of organically grew. If you're gonna, I was coaching and training the guys, so they knew if they come in the pit with us that not only would they get service and support in the pit, but I could coach them and train them and give them experience and help them on the bike, and then help them riding. And at the time I was super close to Thermos Man, so he would come down and help us with the setups and the bikes. And then 5 years into the business, he started coaching me and training me and actually taught me how to build suspension. So I had one-on-one training with one of the best guys in the business on how to build Öhlins and K-Tech shocks and forks. So in the last couple of years, I've got certified with those businesses and became dealers for them. And so Skip and I at K-Tech are really close, and I call him a lot. And I love the guys at K-Tech. They've been really good. I've been there twice this year for training on all their new stuff. And that's a good part of the business to be in. And even now when we go to the track, there'll be weekends I spend as much time in the trailer building shocks and forks as I am. Like we'll ride during the day, and then I'll be up half the night building shocks and forks and fixing fork seals or, broken shocks and God knows what. So, and that part of it's fun too, because coaching and training people, you get to help them, get better with their riding, and then building the suspension, you get to make the bike better. And it wasn't until I started building suspension that grown men you would work on their bike and like set some clickers and set some settings and do a setup, and a grown man would come back after riding his bike and hug you. And I'm like, that's an interesting thing. That's slightly weird, but like, I appreciate the idea. So it's like, okay. But I've a few times where grown men just come up and hug you and be like, I didn't know I liked this motorcycle so much or whatever. So almost sold this thing. And that makes you feel good, Yeah. So you get that positive reinforcement, positive feedback, and it's nice to have people appreciate for what you do, right? So that absolutely it makes the hours worth it for sure.
It does, dude. And listen, I'm in the wrong fucking business. I should have thought of that, dude. I'm jealous, man. That's absolutely amazing, man. Yeah, it's what you do is absolutely amazing, and where it's gone and who you become. And I do have a question. Do you know Birch Wadewitz?
Yeah,
he works for K. Yeah. He's a buddy of mine. Talked to him in Atlanta. Finally got to meet him. So yeah, he's cool. As soon as you mentioned K-Tech, he's the first one that popped in my head.
Yeah, Birch is great. I love giving him a hard time because he and we come around. We got into K-Tech similar time or whatever. Once I started getting busy and I was calling him all the time, they had brought him on, and he's great. He's really good about following up. And there's some things that we've learned together because I'll have some question pop up in my mind, or I've got some technical, hard time I want to give someone. And he's the guy for the call, right? So he has to take the call, and then he has to figure it out. And we're back and forth a little bit, but he's always a pleasure to deal with. And like the thing I love about him and all the guys at K-Tech is they care about what they do, and they care about helping you, and they don't turn their nose up at you about anything, right?
Yeah.
It's not because they say so. It's because, well, that's what works, or that's what we've tried, or that's what we know. And just that approach to it is nice for me, because different people, different brands, different colors, they have different ideas about how things should be or what things are. And sometimes it is because it is what they say it is. And, sometimes thinking outside the box gets you a lot farther than, cookie cutter programs. So I like that. Guys. They're really good about that.
And Jakari, I think's his name. He works for K-Tech too, right? Jakari.
I haven't met him.
His name. I think I'm saying his name right. At least I hope I am. If I murdered it, I'm sorry. But yes, apologies. Yes, I'm so sorry if I did. But I met him too. He actually worked with my buddy Ryan Wolf in Atlanta when we got 2 second places. Let's go. Yes, it was amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. We a customer of mine, Daniel Boca, bought Ryan's SV from last year, and so I had that in the shop all winter, and we completely rebuilt that thing. Put brand new K-Tech suspension and dampener on it, put some nice fresh Dunlop tires on it, put some beautiful Chris Paris bodywork on it. And we had the stickers made from the guys at Inline 4, and I got to put amazing decals on it. And so like Daniel's got a pimped out SV that, like when we first got it, it's normal SV. It's just an SV, but like I said, we like the bike behind me. It's got the aero fender and all the cool body work on it. So that thing, it's like most of the time now when you take it to the track, if someone doesn't know who Chris Paris is or the body work he makes, they're asking you, what is that thing? And what is that? Or where did it come from? What model Suzuki is that? Or whatever, because they see the S, but they have no idea what the thing is. So that's really cool. He's got
it is.
on
So big shout out to Chris Paris. I actually finally got to meet him in real life, is what I always say, right? So if you guys don't know, Ghetto Customs, absolutely amazing what he does. And there's times I remember when I first started seeing Chris in his body work, I'm like, same thing. Like I knew what brand and model it was, but I'm like, I've never seen that body work before anywhere. Like you can't find it in any catalog, nobody makes it but just him. So it's exclusive, and what he does is absolutely amazing. But I want to get to a couple of these comments coming in. So we got my man Keith Kelly. He says, what is up, guys? And then Rod to Death says, Seth, when are you coming back to the kart track?
I literally just got home from the kart track. We spent the last 2 days at Bushnell just shredding. So lately, we've been taking. We started this in COVID, right? So when COVID locked the world down, we couldn't get to the racetrack, and we rented Jennings GP one time quietly with 10 people, and the county commissioner, whoever, would only allow 10 people at the racetrack. So Jackie was out there doing head counts on us every 20 minutes of the day. But that was a lot of fun. But we needed something where it could bring more than a couple people, right? So we started doing the South Florida Mini GP. And the first weekend we showed up, I brought 9 Ninja 300s. And Michael Correa was like, what is that? And I'm like, look, technically it fits in the motard class because of the CC limit. And they allow us to have them on this track. So can we please ride with you guys? And he's like, okay. So turns out that Ninja 300s and motards on the fucking same track are wildly different and not necessarily safe to be together because of the speed difference on the straightaway. They're all good in the turns. It's fine. But the motards are just noticeably faster in the straightaway. So they end up stuffing the 300s into all the corners, and it runs people off the track. So Correa, genius, made a class for us, made a group for us, and he's had one ever since, right? And so now a lot of the kids can take their Ovalis and then go get on a 300 and then ride something that they could potentially ride in the Junior Cup. So that's become a whole thing for people now, and that's just a blessing to have that opportunity to, like I've got a 2-year-old now, so I cannot wait to start to be able to take him to these things just so I could watch him, right? And it's like, as I'm gonna, like, I don't think I'm gonna stop riding, but I'm not going to be able to buy all the new latest and greatest stuff because I'm going to be buying it for him, right? So it's so much fun now after having a son to go there with those guys and watch the kids grow. Korea's got a couple boys, a couple different ages, and like even Avery, I've been helping Avery Dreyer, and he's got a little brother and little sister. It's like just watching them develop over the years. I've been 3 or 4 years of this now with them, and like watching everyone grow up literally. And, when I met Avery, I've got pictures of Jackson Blackman and Brandon Posh when they were 14 years old, riding, coaching with them. Then met Avery when he's, like not even up to my chest. And now he's as tall as I am and could probably do more bench press than I could. Right. So it's like, just that part is also very fulfilling and fun to watch. And so like we go to the go-kart track for development of the riders, right? Because I can buy a Ninja 300 on the street that's been like low-sided or something for a couple grand and take it as a rental bike. And if you fall down on my Ninja 300 with no fairings on it, it's not that expensive compared to crashing your Ducati Panigale at Homestead, right? So we do a lot of that now, and that's a lot of fun. You get a lot of people. And so we got multiple guys now I've had, like the first time they've ever got their knee on the ground, the first time they've learned what trail braking was, the first time, they low-sided, all these like first we're doing it at Bushnell and Anderson. So that's a lot of fun. And it's very comical. Like 2 days in a row, I had Bushnell got 2 different bikes, 2 different scenarios, completely different people. But this one guy was his 3rd time at the track ever. And the 3rd time was to the kart track. The first 2 times he did a Homestead, he's like lost, right? Super, like I coached him, I'm helping him, but like he's still trying to figure it all out. And he's asking all the right questions and everything. And then he finally started getting brave at the end of the day. And he gets flying into turn 3 and realizes he's in there too hot. So he stands it up to go straight and just runs straight into the tire wall. The bike stays stuck in the tire wall. He goes flying over the head. We're going 20 miles an hour, so it's not like it's super dangerous.
Yeah.
And I pull over, put the kickstand out. There's only 3 people on the track, so it's not like we need a red flag and an ambulance, right? Like we're right there. So pull over, put the kickstand down, and I'm like, flip my visor up, and I'm like, "You okay?" And he's like, "Oh, and it's like he's trying to catch his breath, and I'm dying laughing because I'm like, this. It looks like one of the crash test dummy videos where they're in the seatbelt and they go flying out of the front windshield of the car. That's what it looked like because it happened in slow motion, right? So the very next day, I got a guy from Russia that's been here for a few years. He's a business owner here, and he bought a Ninja 400 at the track. He wanted to go ride. He wanted to go train, so I put him on my 300. We spent all day. Got him knee on the ground. He's one of the fastest guys there by the end of the day, respectively, right? And same thing. He gets all brave, turn 3, grabs a handful of throttle, high sides to the moon. He's wearing an airbag suit. So he goes flying, rolling, tumbling, gets up. He looks like the Michelin Man. His arms are all stuck out. He's like, I did not know what happened. What had happened was, so like I just 2 days in a row of like great times, great people. The go-kart, the guys that own Bushnell and the guy that runs Anderson are great people. They're racers and business owners, and so it's you don't have any of the drama of being at a big facility with a big overhead and a bunch of drama and a bunch of insurance problems. They're super laid back, right? So it's just a lot more entertaining. So we try to go to the go-kart track as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, I bet that's awesome. I'm gonna make my way down there and hang out with all you guys in the SFL Mini GP. Jules actually went down there and hung out with everybody, and I'm jealous. He went down there and got riding on the track on a CRF 100, I think it was, and broke like 4 or 5 clutch levers because he kept wrecking. But that's part of learning, right?
I've got one of those. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. So yeah, everybody you just said that's up and coming, dude. I know all them kids. Jackson Blackman, Avery. And you know what I tell people? I'm like, Avery, the lap slayer Dreyer, is an absolute legend. But you guys got to watch out for Ella, his sister, because she is not playing around. She's getting ready to break a whole lot of hearts in Junior Cup this year. And I've been warning people, and you already see it. Like she's been up there already, right? It's
dude. So last year I was coaching and training a kid who was graduating college. He's off to be a doctor now, but it was his last year at school, Noah, and super awesome kid. We had been racing all year, and we get out and practice on Friday at Roebling, and we're going like I'm riding. He's got 2 R3s. One of them I built for him. One of them was his dad's, and we're going, and here comes Ella, a little blonde ponytail. And I'm like, nah. Now, mind you, I've been helping Avery for a couple of years with suspension and out of whatever they need. If there's anything I can do, I do, right? Anything I can do. And she passes me, and I'm like, all right, maybe that's just because like I'm coaching him, but I'm gonna like follow her and see like what's up. And after 2 laps, I start realizing that I'm making decisions that are counterproductive to my future. And I'm like, okay. That's it right there. Yeah. I'm like, I just learned right there. And so Ella last year was faster than me. R3 for R3, bike for bike, right? She was faster than me already. Mind you, if Ella was on, to my defense, if Ella gets on a lightweight twin that I've got my Ducati or my FZ07 built out of hell, we're going to have a different conversation. But at this time, and at that time, he was already whooping me with an R3. And like, as much as it like hurts my man ego, at the same time, it made me so happy because like I know their family, I know them. I'm super proud of her, and I know how hard those kids work and how much they care and how much effort they put in. So to see and their father and John, like they put in so much work and energy and effort to see them have success feels good because they should have it. Like to put in that much. And it's not just about money. I'm sure Aaron spends more money than he'd ever care to spend. But at the same time, like they're getting results, right? So like that, whatever they did spend is definitely worth it. And the amount of time is way more than the money. And, that is even more worth it. It's very fulfilling to watch that. And then, going to the mini GP and then seeing them grow up and then seeing like, Ella get on a motard. It's like they got to help her launch the thing because her leg can't touch the ground. She's got her ankle around the seat, and she's got to jump up on the thing to go. And then it's like 3rd in the South Florida Mini GP race. I'm like, and her brother's in 1st. I'm like, dude. So that's fun to watch. It's really, really, really cool. And like, it's like I did this year. I've done on the Junior Cup, I set up 7 of the motorcycles that were on course this last time. So, and then I did 6 of the bikes that were in Atlanta. So, I know a lot of those kids, and that's even more fun to like put a lot of love and energy and effort into building their suspension, and then watch them go out and run. And then I'm calling them, I'm texting them like, how you doing? How's it going? It's fucking great. I love it. I'm la, 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 la. And then, one of them's like, I was helping Jonathan Hollingsworth, and they're from Daytona, and his dad's texting me, and, we're back and forth, and I'm like, well, check this, check that, set this, set that, do this, do that, and go back out the next morning. He's like, all right, we're in the money. And I'm like, all right, sweet. It's like, so it's just like, it feels good, and it's fun to be a part of it. At the same time, I wasn't there, right? But I'm talking to 5 or 6 of them at a time and helping them with their bikes and getting them set up and pointing them in the right direction. That feels really good to help them,
Oh, it does. Yeah, it's the same thing with me, right? I've had all those on my podcast, and we're all friends. And when I physically get to see them, it's nothing but hugs and it's conversations, and it's seeing the growth, their whole journey to where they were when I first had them on to where they are now, which has only been like a year and a half ago, right? But they've been on several times. It's a feeling that you can't really describe. I can't put it into words, right? You're like, it's, and that's why I tell people, I get asked the question all the time, who's my favorite racer? And I say it, all my friends that race, not Mark Marquez, not Pedro Costa, but all my friends that race, Ella, Jillian, Isaac Woodworth. I mean,
Yeah.
Rossi Moore, dude, Lev Abadic, dude, the list goes on and on and on. Right. And I get such pleasure and excitement that talking to them, being friends with them, and seeing, like I said, their career progress. And you're right, John. So I had John on it when I remember when I first met John and Aaron in Jersey. And it was the first time I actually got to meet Avery too, in person, in real life. And I was like, "What's up, John? I'm Simcoe for Pin the Gas." He's like, "Hey, man, what's up?" And then that resting face, right, back to it. And I was like, "Okay, I'll see you later," right? And then John, I mean, Aaron too. Aaron's like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" I was like, "What's up, Aaron?" He kind of the same way, right? And I was like, "Okay, I'll catch you guys later." And then fast forward in Jersey. Not Jersey, that was Jersey, Atlanta. Of course, me and Aaron immediately, we know each other. We talk and text every once in a while. And it was like, "Hey, man, what's up, dude?" And I was like, "Dude, what is up, bro?" Right? Nothing but hugs, right? And finally, I got the balls enough to walk up to John as he's working on the bike. I was like, "You know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm going all in." So I walked up to him. He's working on the bike. And I just leaned over and I whispered in his ear. I said, "John, it'd be an honor to have you on my podcast." And he looks at me and he smiles. He says, "Okay, we'll make that happen." And I turned around and I was like, "Yes," right? Like I got it in, right? Like I'm friends with him already, but I got him to talk, right? I got him to
God bless
communicate
you.
with me.
God bless you.
Right. I got him to communicate. This is awesome, right? And then I
That's
had him
it.
on the podcast and I told him, I said, "Dude, when I see you, just prepare yourself. You're going to get the biggest bear hug you ever got in your life." He's like, "I'm looking forward to it." So yes, they are everybody I've met and friends with. Like you said, the community's small, the circus is tiny, but the love and support everybody gives to each other it's outstanding.
Yeah.
It really is. It's exactly what you said. You could leave the track, you could see somebody with a blown tire on the trailer. It don't matter if you're really on a tight schedule or not. You're going to stop and say, "Hey, can I help you? What you need? I got you." And spend 4 or 5 hours and help them get done what they're doing, and
Give them
hugs
your
and then
spare tire, change it for them, and then follow them to the exit. 100%.
right. Yeah, 110%. And then call them like 2 hours in the ride. "Hey, man, you guys okay? Did you guys make it? What's going on? All right, cool. I'll see you guys next weekend. Good luck, because I'm going to kick your ass," right? And then
There's no mercy. Yeah. Green flag drops. All that's out the window. But when we get back over there, we still go to the Mexican restaurant outside of Jennings and have some margaritas. That's cool. Like, it's
facts.
fine.
Yeah, it's 100%. It is. So I want to get back to these comments real quick. So we got Max Parshin. I hope I didn't murder your name. He says, yo, who is this slow guy? I know he's talking about you, because I already know I'm slow, so I know he's got to be talking about you.
Yeah. So Max I met at Homestead, and he was there at the track and was struggling with the bike a little bit, and we pulled him aside. He had a GSXR 600. I knew everything about a GSXR. I've had 100 of them, so we had his bike fixed, and he was back on the track in a matter of no time, and he's been one of our crew ever since. So like he's been a customer and does a ride and ride with us. He's had, I don't know, at least 5 bikes since the Gixxer by now. He's had an R3, he's had an Aprilia, he's got an FZ07 now. So he's a driver. He drives a CDL, and so I keep his bike and I maintain it and take care of it. And then he shows up like a pimp and rides it all weekend, then gets back in the truck and leaves like nothing ever happened. So and I tease him every once in a while. We post pictures of clients and stuff when I met him, like day one and then now, and it's like I've got pictures of him that we've printed and hung on the wall in here and stuff. But I've got a picture saved in my phone of him, in his like first suit he ever got, when definitely doesn't have his knee on the ground. He's sitting straight up, arms straight, the whole thing. And then I've got a picture of him that's in here on my wall that we've got mounted. That's him dragging his elbow on an R3. And, he had a couple years ago, had super successful, a lot of races and a lot of fun on the R3 and was winning some races. So he come a long way. And that's our rolling joke, is like who's slower on a regular basis. So it's a lot of fun. And Max is definitely one to like, he loves the internet. So he likes to troll people on the internet, and I love that. So I really enjoy watching him say all the right things to people, and it makes the best time ever. Like, he knows exactly what buttons to push. He's not going to say anything necessarily foul. It's just, he knows how to push the buttons. So, and he's a great internet troll when he wants to be, and I love that about him. So that's so much fun. We have a good time. And it's the same, like, I've got customers. Andrew is from Curacao. That's an island off of Venezuela that he's been a customer of mine for 8 years now. He showed up one weekend, asked me about the services. Him and his brother, they gave me their bikes. They never left. And so, years ago, I was needing a vacation, and he's like, come to Curacao. So it's like, all right. His family had a vacation, condo on the beach in Curacao. I got to fly to Curacao, picked up at the airport, taken to the beach house, put up like a dream come true. I'm like, take me to the house. His father's got a big old workshop in the back of the house. Like, no wonder you guys are addicted to motorcycles. He's got a full machine shop in the back of the house on the side of a hill overlooking the ocean. I'm just like, dude, really? So, meeting them is a blessing. And he's a great guy. He's been a great customer. I've got his GSXR 1000 sitting here. He bought a brand new street bike, and we bought all the parts for it, and we built a complete. I mean, he's got a Motor America Spec 1000 sitting here that he rides for fun. He's got an easy suit that's got, it looks like he looks MotoGP every time he hits the track. And my running joke with all the customers is that I want to be a customer when I grow up, because these guys have all the best of everything. And, like, if I could get to the point where I'm like that with the brand new everything, and someone else is taking care of everything, and all I got to do is show up in my rental car or my Ferrari and drive and leave, I'm like, this is where I want to be when I grow up. It's like,
Facts.
I can just turn the tables a little bit when I get a little older, and then it will be good. So
that's awesome you said that, because when you said that, I was like, dude, I said that to my buddy the other day. I said, dude, I want to be a podcaster when I grow up. And he looked at me, he's like, but that's what you do. And I was like, you didn't understand what I said, but yes, you're right. It's that same thing. Like, when I grow up, that's what I want to be. So yeah, it's absolutely funny. Look, dude, we got the legend himself in the house, Pat Sheridan. He said Guru is in the house.
That's it. So I did a bike for Pat this year at Jennings, and he bought a new KTM, and we set the suspension up on that at the track, and got him all going. And Pat's an amazing guy. So
yes.
Pat's in the finance world. I started a new business in February for my adult life, and so we got back into financial services in February, and I've got that on the side too. And Pat's a good mentor and give me some really good advice about do's and don'ts and yays and nays and things like that. So when I go to South Florida Mini GP, he wants to talk about motorcycles and I want to talk about money. We're like, Pat, you see, the thing is, well, the KTM,
like, right? He's like, hold up,
market, listen.
I love it.
That's always a blessing. Pat's a great guy.
Dude, Pat's an absolute legend. I had such a great time with him on the podcast. He's absolute good guy. And look, we also got my man Chris Glandon in the house. He says, what's up, Seth? I'm sorry I couldn't see you this weekend, bro.
Yeah, Chris stood me up. We were at my 300s at Bushnell, and I was trying to get him all amped up about bringing the Groms out there. See, I have this running. He's got what I do with the 300s, he does with the Groms, and as far as bringing people to the track, and he's got a great program set up to get people off the street and learning, and he does a lot of people like at the very beginning stages, and then gets them up and going and gets them on the track and gets them involved, which is a blessing. And the format he has is a lot more conducive to getting to those tracks more. He's closer by. The bikes are smaller. He can take more at the time. He can just do more of it, right? And so we've had a lot of good back and forth, and it's a blessing because, like I said, we're not really each other's competition, even though we're in the same world. So we have a good time. And I actually, one of the guys that's part of his program is George Rivas, and he's a longtime guy. I've known George since I started, and he's one of my old school back in the day. Knew me since I was a fat kid guy, and George and I have a good joke about each other together. The first, I don't know if it was South Florida Mini GP at the time. If it was, forgive me, but this was years and years ago. They had, and it might have been the first like 12-hour endurance race they did at Anderson. This was at least 10 years ago, 8 years ago at this point. And George had a Honda Grom, and they were going to race it in the Grom class for 12 hours. And it was George and Charlie and Jeff Staten, a couple of guys from Tampa. And I'm like, sure, I'll come. Like, I just show up and ride. They're like, yeah, we want you. We need a fast guy. Like, come ride. I'm like, okay. I've never been on a Grom, and I just assumed that was a normal motorcycle. So I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's show up. We had the Le Mans start. So I'm sprint racing a bunch of kids across the track, hop on the Grom. I got longer legs. So somehow I get to the Grom first, right? I'm like, I don't care if you are 13 years old.
I'm winning. Yeah.
Look, I've been in turn one with Mike Smith and Aaron Yates. I'm telling you right now, I'm going
I've got this. Yeah.
first. So I'm the first one on the bike. I got the bike started. I let the clutch out, and the thing goes nowhere. And I'm like, okay. So I pull the clutch back in, let it back out, still going nowhere. I'm like, something's got to be wrong. Like, I'm going, but not like going, right? And then here comes, little Correa and another Correa, and all on XR100s and all this stuff. And they're all flying by me into turn one. I'm like, I know I got on the bike first. I think I'm the last one into turn one. Like, I had no idea that a Grom only has like 7 horsepower. So I'm ripping through the turns. It's coming out of the turns fine. Then we get on the back straightaway, Bushnell. And then again, everyone leave. I pass half the field back. They all pass me on the straightaway again. The rest of the field comes by. The only people I'm in front of is the other Groms. And I'm like, okay. So like, I have that mentality. I'm going nuts in the turns in the front side. I get some positions back. And then they all pass me again on the straightaway. After about 20 minutes of this, I'm like, I'm exhausted and this sucks. So the first hour goes by, I come in, I pit, and they're like, man, how was it? How you doing? I'm like, honestly, I've never been so bored in my life, and I've never been so mad at a motorcycle in my entire life. I was like, this bike, you could not only check your Instagram, you could like literally go live while you're on the fucking straightaway with this bike, like, and it wouldn't even be distracting because it's so slow that, you could do like a biography or a dialogue if you had a microphone, like if you had a cardo on, you could be doing like, financial instructions or something. I don't know. This is insane. And they were like, no, that's good. They're like, when are you getting back on? I'm like, no, listen, guys, I don't think you understand. I'm going home. And they're like, the race is 12 hours long. I'm like, there's 4 of you. Have fun. But I'll be home before you guys finish 4 laps. And they're like, oh man, I literally to this day, I've built the suspension on maybe like 5 of these by now. But I haven't been back on a Grom since that day. Like, I have no desire to. I've done multiple jobs on the suspension from the South Florida guys, but I'm like, no. And then I got finally Alex Ferreira, awesome guy. He's a racer and mini GP guy. He's in Orlando. He let me ride his like super bike one time. And like, at least that one would go. Like, it doesn't not get out of its own way. But if the XR100 can pass me on the straightaway, we had a problem. So I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't care what. Now when people ask me all the time, Chris Stanovic's got one, he's asked me to ride. I'm like, look, I'm good. I'm like, are you sure? I'm very sure. Like, I'm very, very sure. So I can't play with that. But like I said, I appreciate what Chris does. And it's been good knowing him. And it's always good to, like, we bounce stuff off back and forth. He's sent me a couple of customers a few times about, they realize, like, that there's other bikes out there that have more than 6 horsepower and they want to try those before they go do a big track day. So we'll put them on a Ninja 300 at Bushnell and let them run around a little bit and see what that's all about. And it works out really good. And Chris has a lot of patience. He trains people in parking lots and does street bike training and stuff like that too. So God bless him for that, because I struggle to get the guys that like this the guy that I had there at Bushnell on Wednesday, he's only been to the track a couple times in his life, and his first day there is like he didn't even know to go to registration. He didn't know to go to the riders meeting. I'm like literally like having to almost hold his hand, not because he's some kind of idiot. It's just he doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
He saw something online about doing a track day and he could pay me, so he just showed up. And he literally, I'm like, okay, now we have to go to the riders meeting. And I'm like, at this point in my life and career, I'm like, that's not normal for me. So I have a hard time like, what do you mean you come to the track day and you don't know that you need an armband to register for what group you're in? Like, huh? It's like,
I'm confused right now. All right, yeah.
Some stuff I just literally take for granted. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, that part of it it's been fun. But like I said, too, is like just the ability to get people into the sport and to be a part of it and like help them is fun for me, because like I said, when I started, when the first couple things we went to, I didn't have a lot of direction and I didn't have a lot of support. So to be able to give that back to people feels really good, and it's very fulfilling to watch people like, for me, I've got a humongous trailer full of parts and bikes and tools. So it's like it would take me all of about 3 minutes on a regular basis to make someone's like to save their entire track day or save their race weekend. And I got 2 or 3 of them sitting there in the trailer or whatever it is, right? Or, a guy had a problem with the front sprocket. I got an impact gun in there at battery powered snap-on impact gun. So if something happens on the side of the road, I can change the wheels on the trailer in 20 minutes. I had his front sprocket off in like 3 minutes. He'd been over there for 3 hours, right? So like those kind of things are like, I like that kind of stuff, and it feels good to like keep people going, and that also makes them more likely to come back and stay in the business. And it's good for the industry, because if I'm going to be working here, we need as many people at the track as possible, right? So like that part of it really plays a big role on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. Yeah, and what he's talking about, you guys in Florida, it's Tampa Pro Rider is the name of Chris Gladden's. So look him up. He's absolutely amazing, and he's been on my podcast. So you guys go check out the episode. You can learn all about it, and he's an amazing guy too, as well, for sure. And then we got Keith Kelly. He says, I saw you doing Patrick's suspension during the races at Homestead. He's killing it this year.
Yeah, so this year we had one of the first rounds for Pan Am was at Homestead, and I had a sign that sits out in front of the pit, says suspension here, and people were word of mouth, and it's typical motorcycle racer, they get to the track before they realize that their fork's leaking or their shock hasn't been serviced in 3 years or whatever. But Patrick was needing some support, and I knew a lot about that bike, so we took the suspension off, took the bike up, everything apart, serviced it, put it back together, changed the springs, got him all set up, and then he was instantly going faster, and he's had really good success with it this year. So that part of it's, like I said, that's fun. And I'm at the point now with it where I've done enough of these. Most guys have similar or the same bikes, and most of the R6s are all the same. Most of the GSXRs are all the same. Most of the ZX6s are all the same. So after you've done 10 in a year, the next 10 the next year, you pretty much know based on their weight and their lap time. You tell me your weight, you tell me your lap time, I know what to do to that bike. Yeah. And that part's fun because, like I said, you go, they're like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, give it to me. And then they come back and hug you or win a race or something. And it's like, all right, that's cool. Like, it's not as good as if I won, right? But I still want to win.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, that part of it's a lot of fun. And it said, I really do enjoy helping people do better and go better. And that's pays dividends down the road too. It keeps me with plenty of work to do. So that's
good. I love it. I got an RC51. I need my springs and my rear shock done, but we'll talk about that after the podcast for sure. But listen, we got Ride to Death. He has a question. He says, Anderson changed management. Do you still have a garage there?
No. So last year I was doing some financial consulting for a guy in Sarasota, and I was there once a month or twice a month for meetings. And I was there so much that it didn't make sense to I got a 50-foot trailer. So to drag a 50-foot trailer up and down I-75 can be expensive. So I rented a garage and we MotoGP'd the thing. I epoxied the floors, painted the walls. The guy at the track that rented me the spot was like, dude. And I'm like, listen, if we're going to do it, like my shop is the same way. The whole shop is epoxied floors, painted walls, air conditioning, walk in. I literally looked up what the Ducati shops look like. And my girlfriend works at the Bentley dealer here in Fort Lauderdale. So they got $100 million facility for the Bentley service center. In the Bentley store, we went for the grand opening, man. And we ate dinner in the service shop with like millionaire customers and billionaire customers, because the shop is tile floor with white grout, and it's all snap-on like custom toolboxes. There's nothing on the floor. The place, they have a Zamboni every night. Everything comes out of the shop. Everything goes up in the air, and they drive a Zamboni around in the shop and clean the floor of the shop every night. I'm like, okay, if I can even just become anywhere in the ballpark of this compared to most motorcycle shops you walk into, I'm good. And
I made it. Yeah.
I did the same thing. When I moved into the new shop, all the floors are painted, all the walls are painted, epoxied everything. Like I've got the snap in locked together, red flooring all over the place. Like just the place is high and tight and clean as a whip. And you walk in and it's just like, damn. And it's like, if I'm going to have to come here every day, it's got to be like that, right? Like it's got to be amazing. And it doesn't cost that much more money to paint the wall, right? So, and clean up. So that for sure, it's just like that. So we did that at Anderson and I had that for most of last year, and I stopped doing consulting for him. So there was no reason to go over there that much. And then the traveling got a little bit better. Also in the last year and a half, they closed Palm Beach, right? So we don't have that track available anymore. So because of that, I've got to go out of Florida a lot more often if I want to do business, right? So we're at Roebling and Jennings and Road Atlanta a lot more than I was previously, because previously I could go Palm Beach, Homestead, Palm Beach, Homestead, Palm Beach, Homestead. And then when we had a weekend off, go to Tampa for Anderson mini bikes or go to Bushnell, right? So I could just 3 or 4 tracks and I was just like lighting it up. Back to back to back to back to back to back. We're going every weekend. We're going 2 or 3 days a week. There's weeks we're doing 2 or 3 tracks in one week. Amazing. And then they closed Palm Beach and just screwed that all up. So I got rid of the place at Anderson. It was $500 a month to have that, and we weren't even barely going once a month. And like for $500 a month, I could just drive the truck over there instead of going 2 or 3 times a month. So I got rid of that, and I hate it too because now someone else has got it, and he has the nicest garage in the entire place. Of course, you're welcome. But
you're very welcome.
You're welcome. I'm like, like there's $400 worth of epoxy on the floor right there. But okay, anyway, it's all good.
That is awesome. And listen, I was laughing, man, because Patty Starnes said your mom wants to know when you're going to have another child that grow up too fast.
Well, I mean, not to overshare, but that would be physically impossible because I got that taken care of at the doctor's office. So we good on that one.
My wife's on my ass to do that too, so I'm gonna have to make me an appointment and get all that done. And then we got Michael Blum Jr. and he says, well deserved to be on this podcast, Seth. Listen, Michael, an absolute honor for you to say that. As you guys know, I show nothing but love to everybody that everybody in the world, but everybody that supports me in the podcast. You guys are simply proper mega, as I say all the time. Yeah, and it means the world to me. And then of course we got my man Dustin Carter. He's a really good friend of mine. He lives literally right down the street. And when we get done with this, that's where I'm headed to. He says, my man Simcoe, thank you. Ben Lee, he's a moderator on Pin the Gas podcast. He says, happy Memorial Day weekend to everybody. Philip Henry says, let's go. My man, dude, Ricky Bobby is in the house. Bobby Levitt. Aaron Dreyer says, I'm dropping a set off to your garage now.
That'll be like 5 in 5 weeks, pal.
Right?
We're on the express order on that program.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, big shout out to Aaron Dreyer. Of course, he's a legend that has the legend himself, Ella and Avery. So you guys already know who they are. Absolute legends. And then Ricky Bobby says, tell Seth I said hi, and Seth is a great dude.
Yeah, I've known him for a long time now, and he's been super supportive of me from ever since I started. We were doing stickers for his Honda as far back as I can remember. So he's a great guy. We're a rider and track day guy, and then he's Atlanta or Savannah. He's right there in the southeast, right there in
South Carolina, I think.
Yeah, amazing guy.
Yeah,
so
he is. Bobby's an absolute legend too. And then Chris, yes, Gladden is pro rider Tampa. I always murder that, and I'm sorry. Yes, he says LOL. It's pro rider Tampa. And then we got Chris Seats says, yo, pumpkin.
So Chris is my childhood friend. We grew up together playing football together as young guys, and he's awesome. He actually married his high school sweetheart, and they've got he's got his perfect North Carolina family the whole thing, dude. I couldn't be more happy for them. So he's always great people. Our families were close growing up, and man, I must have known him since I was 9 years old. So it was always fun giving him a hard time.
That's awesome, man. I love it, dude. I love it. Listen, dude, we're an hour and 10 minutes of this, and it seems like we've only been sitting down for 15 minutes. That's how it goes. The time flies by. We have so much more to cover and so much more to talk about. We're going to do it in part 2, part 3, part 4, because I would love to have you on because there's just, again, so much. I got so many questions written down that I want to ask. We just don't simply have enough time to do it right this second. But I want to move forward to getting towards the end of the podcast, which is my favorite part of the podcast. Everybody knows, where we get to know Seth on a personal level away from motorcycles. Even though you're like me, we're never fully away, right? Even when I'm on vacation and my wife, like, we went out for my birthday and we was at the bar, and this guy come up to me. I forget his name, Wes, I think it was. And I had my podcast shirt on. He's like, "You're the guy from the podcast." I was like, "Yeah, I am, man. I appreciate all the love and support." He's like, "Dude." So we immediately go into this motorcycle, all this stuff, right? My wife was like, "Absolutely not tonight. There's no way. It's his birthday. We got to leave the motorcycles alone. Get his number, call him up tomorrow, and you guys can have at it. But right now, I'm sorry. Nice to meet you. See you." And she's like, "See you." And I was like, "Nice to see you, guy." Right? Yeah, it's
I'm guilty of that. That's for sure.
Oh, I'm always like that, right? Even my wife be sitting down watching the TV series together, right? And I'm over there on the side of the couch, like looking down like this. She's like, "I know exactly what the fuck you're doing. If you don't want me to break your phone, cut it off." I was like,
"Get off Messenger." Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, I got you, babe. She's got my number all the way around, right? It's I'm just addicted. It's something that, like I said, I told the story before. My dad, he had a Suzuki. I just remember it was a Suzuki. I can't remember what model it was, but I'm 3 and 4 years old, Seth, and nobody can find where I am. You know where I'm? I'm in the garage. I'm trying to climb on this motorcycle. I want to be on this bike. That's what I want to do. I don't want cartoons. I don't want my passy. I want this motorcycle, right? If I could say that, that's what I would have said. But yeah, it's my life, right? In your life and everybody else's life too. So what a great life. What an honor, right? It really is. Especially when you do something you love. It's not a job, right? Because people tell me all the time, they're like, "Dude, you podcast like almost every day. Like, it's crazy." And your full-time job, how do you manage all this? It's when you're so passionate about something, and you give it your all, it's not a job. And it don't even feel like work at all. It don't, right? But yeah, it's great, man. Good stuff. So, Seth, let's start it off. I'm going to start by asking you this question. What is Seth's worst habit?
Work. You could ask anybody that knows me. That is 100% I had a little bit of health problems last year from literally just no days off. I think even this year, we're at May, I've had 2 days off the whole year. I work from sun up to sundown, or before the sun comes up. I laugh about pictures in my phone. I got more pictures of sunsets and sunrises in my phone over palm trees and pine trees and beach scenes and whatever, just because it's like, I realize that I probably work harder than the sun most of the time. And it's I'm just nonstop. But that comes from, like I said, it's like blending what I love and what I'm doing. And if I'm going to do something, I'm super passionate about it, and it's all or nothing. I can't half-ass anything. So it's like, if it takes 12 hours, it takes 12 hours. If it takes all day, it takes all day. Like, I've pretty much worked for myself my entire forever, right? Like, I did some internships and I did some, 16-year-old kid jobs or whatever. But, for the most part, I grew up around my dad and owned his own business. So ever since I could, I don't know when the last time I've ever had a W-2. It's been a 1099, 1040 easy or something like that my entire life. So to me, it's just whatever it takes, not, how many hours do you work? I have no idea, man. Like, way too many. So definitely that is like, it's hard for me to turn it off. So if there's a bad habit, it's like, not taking a day off, not relaxing, not sleeping. I mean, I don't even know about sleep. Like, it's like, do I have to?
Right. That's what I tell people. I sleep when I'm dead. I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Well, I've been trying that. And last year I found out you'll fuck around and find out real quick. You'll die if you don't go to sleep. So,
yeah, you will. Yeah, absolutely, you will. It's a big part of it. And exactly what you were saying. It's so much time and effort It's not a job. It's a passion, and I can't turn it off. Exactly what you said. Like I'm constantly, even when I lay down in bed, I'm thinking about, I got this guest coming on. You know, I've done this research. I'm going over what I want to talk about, dude. I don't never stop. It's hard for me to just completely shut it off. I can't. I don't care if I'm watching a movie. Even when I'm watching road racing, I'm still thinking about my podcast and the next guest and what's going to happen and everything that's involved to go around it. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. But let me ask you this, dude. Tell us something that we don't know about Seth.
Oh, that's an easy one. I went to college for finance and econ, and quit investment banking to come do this just because I couldn't sit still, right? And that didn't want to be stuck in an investment bank while everyone else was having fun. So last year, I started doing financial consulting for customers. I've had 3 customers over the last 2 years hire me because, you know, we go to dinner at the racetrack and we talk about stocks and bonds and futures and gold and everything else and real estate. So I got sucked into that a year and a half ago. And so I've slowly been, I don't say transitioning, but I've been spending a lot more time behind that. I got a couple professional licenses and I've set for a couple of the exams for finance stuff. So this year's been, the bank accounts are super competitive right now. The financial services business has already overcome the motorcycles on the money side. So it's just that part of it has been really good to me. And again, I've been super fortunate. My customers in the financial services business has been my motorcycle guys. So, you know, the biggest deals I've done have all been with clients that I already have. They know me, they respect me, they appreciate me, and they know what I'm talking about because we spend time together. So they know that the advice I'm giving them is good and what we're doing is on point. So that's been really, really, really fulfilling too. And it pays a lot better than motorcycles. So that's great. And so far it's really enjoyable too, because I'm doing it for people that I care about. So again, like, you know, I'm not selling anybody anything. I'm setting people up tax-free retirements and different life insurance policies that pay them crazy money. And so it's like most of the people end up, you know, coming out better on the money than I do. And that's really, really cool with that. So that's something I've forced myself back into after a couple of conversations with the doctor about my work habits and physical activity levels and travel. So that's been really, really fulfilling.
That's absolutely that's awesome. And listen, what Chris Seats just said, my man fell in love with 2 wheels as a kid and been chasing his dream ever since. He's my hero. I want to be like Seth when I grow up.
I would not recommend that. I would not recommend that. He has a wife and a kid and a beautiful house and family, and he's all sorted out. So I don't. Last time I checked, he hadn't been to the doctor's office too many times about himself. So I would say like he's doing just fine.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So let me ask you this, dude. Seth, if you had your own island and you can only have one racetrack on this island, what racetrack you gonna have?
Oof, man, that'd be tough. The thing is, I love. It's a real toss up. From what I know, right? I've been to 35 of them here in the States, and to be honest, like I would think that I would want to just put some combination of what I've seen, because like there's things about Barber that I'm in love with, but there's just something about being at VIR and the area and just the whole thing. And then, you come to Daytona and it's like, I'm not very impressed by the track at Daytona, but at the same time to go, like I've got a 1000 that will go over 200 miles an hour there. So to be spinning the back tire and throwing rubber off the back tire onto the person behind you at 200 miles an hour is like, where are you going to do that? Right. So like, there's so many different like things or whatever. And go to California, like Willow Springs has some insanely fast corners, but the wind can blow you off the track into the tumbleweeds. Right. So there's give or take there. Sonoma, you're like, literally there's goats on the side of the hill eating the grass because the hill's so steep that the lawnmower can't mow the grass. So they have to have goats to mow the grass in Sonoma. So it's like, there's just so many different things in different places. Like it would be a blessing to find, Ed Bargy is one of the weird guys that's teaches a school. He's been the flag guy, ARMA guy. He's been around forever. And he's probably put more people through race school than I can count. And he does like track design and things like that. To have someone like him, like, go see the place and like, get a island that has a mountain on it, right? And then let's go build something there and just let him put a whole bunch of cool stuff together. Like, I think that would be ideal. I couldn't pick one. There's no way. It's like motorcycles, dude. I've got 40 in here. It's like they all have their own special characteristics, right? They have, my SV or my FZ does some things that the Ducati just will not do, right? And then the GSXR 1000 and the S1000 are so fast that I don't care how cool that Ducati is. That S1000 goes 200 miles an hour. Now what? So it's like the give or take, right? You have your ups and downs or goods and bads.
It is, and that's not the first time somebody said that, right? Like, I can't just pick one. I take this part of this track and this part of this track, but everybody knows I'm gonna have Cadwell Park. Straight up, that's my favorite track in the world. That's the track that would be on my island.
I want to say, like the joke in me says that you only like that because people are jumping the fucking turn, flying through the air on the side of the tire, and who wouldn't want that, right? But like the rest of the course, do you even know what's going on about the rest of the course? Do you even know any of the other turns? Do you?
Yeah, okay, dude. I walked. Yeah. The whole course. I've been a fan. When I first seen it back in the day, was in a matter of fact, I got the. You can barely see it. There's Johnny Ray on a Red Bull Honda at Cadwell Park, just straight tail whipping it in Performance Bike magazine, right? So, yeah, I'm a huge fan of. Everybody knows I love BSB. It's not the tracks. The tracks they're exclusive to the UK, just like our tracks are exclusive here, right? They have good parts and bad parts of every racetrack you go to. But what sets BSB apart from everybody else is they have no electronics on their super bikes. So they're 240 horsepower super bikes with no traction control, no anti-wheelie, none of that, right? So it's the old school proper way of racing. And I love that. That's absolutely amazing. So yeah, it's good stuff, man. So let me ask you this. Everybody knows that I'm a big audiobook listener to. I listen to audiobooks. I said that all messed up. And I'm currently listening to The Ragged Edge by Stuart Baker. It's all about the Isle of Man TT. Everybody knows that's it. By the way, it's coming up. You guys got to go out there and get your TT Plus. Don't miss out. The greatest show on earth, right? Let's just be honest. In my personal opinion. But one book I am reading is by Andy Ibbott. Do you know who Andy Ibbott is? All right, you guys should go look him up. He's an absolute legend of the sport. He raced. He worked for a magazine. He trained Valentino Rossi. He was his rider coach for a while. I mean, he's an absolute legend. But anyway, this is one of his books. He had sent it to me, and I give him a shout out all the time because it's a really good book. I mean, it's kind of like Keith Code book, right? It all the technical stuff that I'm into, and I get a joy of reading it. But when I read books and I just read them, Seth, like I go to sleep versus an audio book. It's like a podcast or whatever. I'm at work. I throw it in and I listen to it. Do you have any books that you read or listen to?
Yeah. So I'm unfortunately a nerd at heart. And so motorcycles are my escape. But yeah, like I put a lot of time and effort into college learning stuff. So like when I got double majored in top of the class. So like I got finance and econ and Spanish all while I was in college. So I literally have to put that kind of stuff on at night to fall asleep because I'm working in my brain. But like right now, I'm watching a series on cash balance accounts, which is how to set your S corporation up into an entity that will basically take money and put it in an account that will grow under a brokerage that's monitored by a TPA that you won't have to pay taxes on until you retire. So anyone making over $200,000 a year could set up an account with a TPA and someone like me, and then that would allow them to wait until they're in their 70s to actually pay taxes on the S corp money that they make, which will also grow 5 to 8% a year while the money's in there versus being handed to the IRS. So that sounds like a mouthful, but it's just fascinating, and it like those are the kind of things that drive me nuts. So I've got a YouTube channel that there's more playlist on financial this and stock trading that. I'm obsessed with trading stocks. It's all I can do to like not be watching the stock charts. I got 2 screens up right now and the other one's watching futures for tomorrow. I'm like trying not to point and click right now. So that stuff is just, that's how it goes. I never could do fictions and stories and all that stuff. Even when we watch movies like or TV at home with Tatiana, I like literally we're watching like documentaries and Discovery Channel and Learning Channel. My son's 2.5. I won't let him watch she had him watching Masha the Bear when he was a little boy, and they had it in English and in Russian, and his grandmother's Russian, so he gets like to hear some of the words in the language and stuff like that. And I'm like, other than that, when the what's the other one? I can't keep up with them. There's some stupid cartoon show, and I'm like, nope, it has to be educational. So we watch Blippi and Miss Rachel and all these things. There's like how to count, what are the colors, what are the shapes? Because I'm like I cannot like just the made up story about. Like, I didn't really watch a ton of TV growing up. I like to be outside, right? So
Yeah, me too.
I don't know like all the Mickey Mouse and the Power Rangers and all that stuff. I'm like, we were building tree houses and forts and dirt bikes and guns and all that stuff. I'm like, I'm teasing her. I took him out and at Christmas this past year at 2 years old, and we're shooting a 9mm, and he's got his earmuffs on and he's got his gloves on. He's the whole thing. And she's like, you can't do that. I'm like, oh, yes, I can.
I did the same thing, bro. The same exact thing.
My grandma's like, you don't take him. I'm like, listen, he's got to learn. I'm like, there's some kids that are playing video games until they're 21 years old and they don't know how to light a lighter. So it's like, but the thing is they know what they're exposed to, right? And given the opportunity, sink or swim kind of thing. Like, you go for it. We're safe. We have all the safety equipment. I'm not going to let him hold the thing loaded. Like, no. But at the same time, like, the first time I put it in his hands and we pulled the trigger, I thought he was going to jump out of his skin. He lit up. And I'm like, oh boy. Now he's like, he wants it back and he wants to carry it around. And I'm like, oh God, no, we can't go there. Like, we're going to shoot this thing a couple times. We got to put it up. And now he's upset because we got to put the thing up and he wants to play. So I'm like, well, at least I know he's going down the right channel. He'll be fine. Dude,
I love that. I love that, Seth. Dude, I knew I loved you for some reason. No, I'm just joking. I love you anyway. But dude, I'm the same way. My mom, I love guns. I got an arsenal of guns. Build AR-300, all that, right? So I got my son his first gun when he was 4. I bought him a AR-15. Why not, right? So he's got his own AR-15 short barrel with the all that stuff, right? So I take him out when he was 4 and 5 years old. After we get back shooting, he's cleaning. He knows how to break down a gun, move the magazine, pull the pin out, rack it, take the slide off, pull the spring out, pull the barrel out. He's in there cleaning it and putting it back together because, like I told my mom, I'd rather him know and be prepared and know how to handle a weapon properly versus getting in this situation with one of his knucklehead friends. Oh, dude, my dad's got a gun. Check this out. All this. At least my son could be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That is not a toy, first and foremost. Never put your finger on the trigger unless you're going to shoot, right? The whole nine.
Yeah, to be the kids in someone's dad's sock drawer that point the thing at each other and pull the trigger and then someone's dead. That's 100%. Like, That's exactly what happens.
Exactly. And I would at least my son to be as best prepared and have all the knowledge that I know when it comes to gun and gun safety. We go shoot all the time, and he told me straight when he shot my 300 blackout, because I had to help him. Now he can do it by himself because he's 11, but back then I had to help him, right? And I'm like, are you ready for this? It's got some kick to it. He's like, I'm ready, Daddy. And he shot it and he turned around, he looked at me, he says, it's a badass gun. That's the exact words. It's a badass gun, but man, that hurt my shoulder. I don't think I want to shoot this right now. Right? I was like, okay, all right. So yeah, so he's big into guns. Dude, I love hearing stuff like that. I think far more. This is a whole nother topic, but far too many people give the guns a bad name. Guns don't stand up by themselves and shoot people. There's no such thing as an assault rifle. People, you can't go to any gun store, any gun dealership and say, show me your assault rifles. They don't exist. That's a word that they put on stuff to make it sound like it's a bad thing. It's not. It's not a bad thing. If we didn't have guns, we'd be doing it with bows and arrows and swords still, right? So
that's like mine. Whenever I have him around, we want to load the trailer and stuff. Like, he'll lose his mind if I drive a bike in the trailer and don't put him on it. So at 2, he knew like where the key is and press the start button. And like, so now I put him on the bike and let him start it. And now I let him drive up and down the road a little bit with me on the thing on the big bike. And he's like, he realized now, like, he can squeeze the gas and the thing will like take off. So I have to keep my hand on the throttle now because he will just floor the thing. He doesn't care. Wow. You're like, oh, we're on an R6 driving up and down the street and the neighbors looking at me like I'm insane. I'm like, well, that might be true, but at least he knows how to ride a motorcycle. So it's just so much fun. Like, he's taken on to that, and that's been a lot of fun to share that with him. And it's one of those things you got. When we put him on, he's got a couple little electric bikes. He's got a 3-wheeler and a BMW and a Ducati and all that stuff, and like he'll stay on that stuff as much as you'll let him. So I'm excited. I'm going to take him to South Florida Mini GP and let him ride his little mini bike in the pits. And you know what's going to happen? He's going to end up on a real motorcycle and they'll be chasing him down the track somewhere. I'm like, all right, well, if that's the least problem I have, then those are great problems to have. So.
Absolutely. When I had my son, of course, I'm like, yes, he's gonna grow up racing. He's gonna be the next world superbike champ. All this, right, dude? He don't really have nothing to like. I bought him. He's got 3 motorcycles. I sold all 3 of them but one. He just don't. He's like, I'm just not ready, Daddy. And I don't force the issue. Yes, it broke my heart, people. Yeah. It broke my heart. I'm not gonna lie, but he's his own person. He's got his own ideas, his own thoughts on what he loves and what he don't love. Right? He don't love motorcycles like his daddy does. Maybe one day he might. And when he's ready to ride, yeah, it'll be one of the greatest days, right? I still take him ride. Like I'll pick him up on school, my motorcycle. And when I pull up, oh, he's the coolest kid ever. He's got his helmet. Everybody runs to the gate. They're like, dude, your daddy is so cool, man. Blah, blah, blah. You know, and everybody's like, take me for a ride. Take me for a ride. I'm like, you guys got to ask your parents. Yeah, you ask them first if it's okay. I'll do that. But yeah, it's he enjoys that part of it, and he's good friends with Yandel Mendia and several other racers in the paddock. So when we show up to Moto America, it's like we'll show up. I'll see Rossi until we see Yandel, and then basically I might see him 3 hours later, right? And because he knows now he's old enough. I told him, I'm like, look, when Yandel practice qualify, when you see him start getting ready and all that, leave him alone. He's got a job. He's here to do his thing, right? Just watch. Just sit back and watch, dude. And they allow him under the tent and with the whole team. And he's just back there sitting on the floor, Indian style, just watching. Let's go, Yandel. You got this. Give him fist bump, and off he goes. Comes back and gives him hugs. It's an absolute honor, and I love it. It brings a tear to my eye sometimes of joy, right? Because it's so cool. That's
really what's great about South Florida Mini GP is like I go there and I'm watching. You know, there'll be 5 or 6 of the kids or more all playing together, like bicycles together, goofing off together in their leathers, and then go put their helmet on, get on a bike and race each other for the death battle on Ovales, and then come right back over there and be right back on a bicycle doing wheelies, screwing off, like having fun, chit-chatting like friends. And I'm like, that is fun, because like at the point that we get to Moto America, that's not happening anymore. You know what I mean? Like those guys.
Oh God. I'm going to Walmart.
Bye, babe. I love you. Have fun.
They're not going.
Okay, I got this. The kids are good. They got snacks, macaroni bowls, and all that. So yeah. So my wife's going to Walmart. I wonder what she's gonna get. Nothing for me, I'm sure.
You get an alert on your phone. Your card has been charged $99.99. 100%.
That is a true fact, right? I'm like, hold up, what are you doing, right? But I don't never say none because she's my queen, right? So happy wife, happy life, and yeah, you learn to compromise on a lot of things, right? It's all working relationship. So yeah, it's good stuff, man. Good stuff. So listen, dude, let me ask you this, dude. Your favorite comedian, Seth?
Oh, that's hard. There are a lot of funny guys, but I think I like Cat Williams because he's a little tiny dude, but he's like pretty witty and smart. So like some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth is just like because he's such a small little person and he talks like a big guy. So he really cracks me up. That guy is funny, and he has like really good perspective, like from almost like what you would call like a street hustler to like he's been in Hollywood and made money now. So like he does understand business to some extent, right? So like he has a wide perspective on stuff, so it's just funny to hear some of the stuff coming out of his mouth. But before he really got popular, Bernie Mac used to crack me up. Like that guy, some of the stuff and like the faces he would make and stuff, you're just like, holy crap, he could have you rolling in the floor. He did some skit about his like stepkids and how they were like, being bad kids coming downstairs at night and stuff, and he was threatening them, and like the 3-year-old was threatening him back and stuff, and it's the way he was going on about it. I was like, once you have kids, you understand, and if you have stepkids, you really understand. I'm like, that is hilarious. So like that,
it is.
Those guys are the Kings of Comedy tour they did for a while. I think Cat Williams was on that at one point.
Yeah.
Bernie Mac and all those guys. Like, man, that was just hilarious. Those guys are so much fun.
It was. It's yeah. I'm with you. I like Cat Williams. Man, you're right. It's such a broad question, but it's a good question too, right? Because it makes you think. You're like, well, wait a minute. Well, he is kind of my favorite. Maybe him. Blah blah blah. But yeah, I like my all-time favorite comedian. Man, is George Carlin.
Okay.
I like George Carlin, man. He's of course Dave Chappelle, and who can't forget Eddie Murphy,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah, of
Eddie
course.
Murphy was the dude, man. We talk about Goonie Goo Goo. So if you guys are with me in our era, you know what Goonie Goo Goo is, right? That was from he was talking about his uncle Gus having two kids, and they take them swimming, and they both look at each other and put their head in the water for 2 minutes, come up with fish, and they both look at each other and say Goonie Goo Goo. He's like, what the fuck is Goonie Goo Goo, Gus? You know, and all that stuff. Yeah, dude, that used to make me cry laughing when I was little. My mom would be like, are you watching that Eddie Murphy again? And I'm in there replicating, saying what he's saying. Yeah, it's absolutely fun. Good times, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good times, man. So let me ask you this, man. I ask everybody, are you a Star Wars or a Star Trek guy?
Dude, to be honest with you, I don't know that I've ever watched a complete episode of any one of them because I don't do TV. I mean, they're cool, but my dad loved all that stuff. My dad was like, love Star Wars and Star Trek, but dude, I would be like 5-10 minutes into that, I'm like, yeah, this is cool, but it's make believe. So like, I'm gonna go outside now. I just like
Right.
I'm way more like left brain than right brain on that kind of stuff. Like I love creativity and all that, but it's just like at the same time, like Fantasyland and made up stuff. It's not nothing against it. I just like I don't connect with that. Like I would
Yeah.
literally, my favorite thing to sit down and watch with my dad when I was growing up was the Learning Channel. Or like This Old House on Sunday morning, and they're like rebuilding an entire house from 1900 in New York somewhere on a Greystone. It's like I know that sounds ridiculous, but I would watch that long before I would watch Star Wars, and like all about the animals, Animal Kingdom, Animal Planet, all that stuff. Like like that is way cooler to me than like some made up stuff about dude with
Yeah.
ears. Like that's cool, but like, all right. Like, I mean, I've seen it, but I don't like, I know who some of the characters are, but I'm like, you know what? It just, this doesn't do it for me.
No, it's all good, man. So some people do, some people don't. I grew up, obviously, we both did in a Star Wars era. Even I was outside kid all the time, but I did enjoy watching Star Wars because it just, I guess, with my ADHD, it took my brain and it kind of focused it on something else for like 2 hours, right? And then I went right back into, okay, let's go play basketball, let's go ride the dirt bike, let's go, go with this yellow jacket's nest and see if we can outrun the bees, which you can never do, right? Everybody does that game.
100%.
Yeah, everybody does that. You know how many times I've been stung, dude? I'm out there dancing like, yeah.
The worst
all
part,
been there.
the worst part for me is I'm competitive and type A. So like when someone says you won't ... I'm like, oh yeah. Like,
Hold my beer and watch
are
this.
you sure? Like, oh man, so that's difficult for me all day long, like that for sure. And it's the same thing even on the track with us now. It's like I laugh because I can be coaching and training someone, and we'll get them up into the advanced group, and we can be doing a whole session. I'll be completely fine, and one of my friends or somebody that I know will buzz me, stuff me into a turn, somewhere, or drive around the outside of me like shaking their head or something, and I'm like, it's like the bull seeing red thing. It's like this feeling comes over me, and I'm like, I know better. I do this for a living, and I train people, and I tell them not to do things like this. And then your buddy stuffs, or Stefano comes and backs it in the turn one on me, and I'm like, I don't. Nah. And this is like, it's just like that. After that, it's pinned. And then you come back in, and the customers and stuff, they laugh. The ones that know me the longest, and they're like, "Yep, I saw that coming a mile away. I knew that was about to happen." Like, you can't turn it off. So, but that's also what's fun about being there all the time is like getting those experiences. So it's better than drugs for sure.
It is the best drug on the planet, too.
It is definitely a drug.
I tell everybody.
It is definitely a drug.
You said it earlier. I would be the worst heroin crackhead there is on the planet when it comes to motorcycles and racing. It is. It absolutely. So I ask everybody this: celebrity crush, Seth. Who's your celebrity crush?
No, that's the same. I don't have it. I don't know who most of the actors are. I don't care. I don't go see movies. I don't follow people. Like it's like if they haven't been around for 30 years, I don't know who they are. Because I just don't care. Even when I first started racing motorcycles and stuff, I never had like a favorite. I like to watch the races and I like the competition, but like I'm not a fanboy of anyone of anything. Like I just don't care. Like I'm you know I'm busy and I want to do it. I want to do it too. So I'm not in love with you, dude. Like race me.
Yeah, right. Let's do it.
I
Let's
don't
get
care.
this.
Like, I'm not a fanboy. I don't care. So like that part of it is hard for me. I couldn't tell you half the actresses and actors in Hollywood. I couldn't tell you who they were.
Yeah, I haven't, man. Honestly, I'm this. I guess the older I used to watch a lot of movies, but the older I've gotten, I don't watch TV a whole lot. And like I said, when I do, it's either MotoGP, World Superbike, BSB, Isle of Man, Northwest 200, Moto America. The list goes on and on.
Yeah,
Right? I could say British Talent Cup. Like that's me. That's my own personal time that I get to sit down and do that. But again, at the same time, when I'm sitting there watching the British Talent Cup, hooping and hollering for my boy Juju, right? I'm still thinking about the podcast, or you know, it's just the.
Yeah.
I'm like you in a lot of that ways. It's hard to just completely blow it off, man, because it's our passion, our love for it's just
Yeah, and it's fun
through the
too. It's
roof.
like you
It
want to
is.
do, yeah, 100%.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. So let me ask you this then: what advice would you give your younger self, Seth?
That's a good one there. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't have a lot of regrets. I mean, not that I couldn't have made a whole bunch of better decisions about any number of things, but I don't know. I don't really look at it like that. I would be more like, YOLO is like a bullshit expression, but at the same time, it's like I don't really live in the past, and it is what it is. Like I get up every day and bust my ass, work hard, and do the best I can, and I'm pretty headstrong about it. I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So it's like, I could say there's been a million times I should have probably bit my lip and not told someone something or said something, right? Like I could have maintained a different relationship with different people over the years, but I mean, one of my, really good mentors and stuff growing up was Charlie Mavros. Once I got teenager and got into the racing, and like he's a Greek New Yorker and a business owner. You either hated him or you loved him because he was blunt and to the point and told you how it was. And if you had a run in with him and he didn't like it, he would tell you. And if you did something to piss him off, he would tell you. So you ask anyone in the paddock these days that's still around that knew him, you're going to get either they hate him or they love him for the exact same reason. So at this point, it's just like there's been a few times like when professionally, I probably should have bit my tongue, but that's also too why I've kind of shied away from like Fortune 500 companies and a professional job, because like I don't want to be that person. Like I want to be able to speak my mind. So I own my own business and I have for 10 years. And if you don't want to do business with me, then fine. And if you don't like what I said, then okay. But I didn't personally attack you or call you names. I just told you how it was. And if you don't like it, pound sand, dude. Like, big deal, because there'll be someone else tomorrow, and I work hard. I care about what I do, and I take good care of people. So if you don't like it and I'm not your flavor, find someone else. There's someone else. Go do it.
Kick
So
rocks.
that part of it is, it's amazing. Like I have an amazing relationship with the people that run Roebling Road Raceway and most racetracks. I don't have an amazing relationship with Jackie at Jennings because we are very similar in being headstrong and not taking any shit. So we butt heads because we have the same personality in a lot of ways. And I have to every time we get together, I have to take a deep breath and don't antagonize her because it's her track and I am lucky to be there and work there and fortunate to be a part of the thing. And I have to respect that about her, even though sometimes she says and does things that I don't like. But in that regard, those sometimes I have to bite my tongue. So I'm like, and so I think if there's anything I would look back on, it's just there'd be probably sometimes I probably should have bit my tongue and just been a little bit more political about things. But I just let it go, let it ride.
I have that issue. It's hard for me. I feel like I'm a Taurus, so I always got to have the last word. And I've heard it my whole life, dude. Just shut up. Like you got to learn when to just stop talking. I feel like
I can understand.
I got to get my last word in, right? It's like I got to make my last point, but I've learned to, my wife will say different, but I think I'm doing good to where I've learned to kind of control it in a way, maybe sort of speak. Not, I'm actually lying to you guys. I can't do it. I speak my mind all the time, and I am who I am, right? I'm a genuine person. I give that when you meet me in real life, Seth, I'm the same person, same energy, same laughter. I find it far too common. People don't know who they are. So they're confused and they're lost and they're trying to be other people or trying to fit in with other people or trying to get something to be cool to fit in with other people, right? And I was always the type, even when I was a little kid, be yourself, love you, love yourself. And if people don't like you for who you really are, then they're not really your friends anyway, right? You don't want to spend that energy and that time on them. And everybody knows one of my favorite sayings is none of us are strangers. We're just friends that haven't met yet. Even if our energies don't match, we're still friends somewhere along the line on this planet, right? We can coexist to each other and give hugs and smiles and yeah, let
Yeah,
it go.
I'm very much like I'll treat you how you treat me. If
Yeah.
if you don't like my flavor, but you're nice to me, I will never say a word to you. But I love confrontation because of adrenaline. Like I'm an adrenaline junkie for like to the core. So when someone like tries me or says something that gets in my face or like smarts off or whatever, like it gives me that like spike, and I live for that. So it's hard to like. I mean, I'll give it right back to you. I have no fear, and like I like is from from racing for so long. I've had some motorcycle crashes where I've left in a helicopter. I've woke up the next day, like, you know, bones broken, can't walk, wheelchair shit. So it's like I've been hurt and I've been on the ground laying there in a ton of pain before, and I survived, right? So it's like the idea of someone beating me up is like comical to me. Like
Yeah.
unless you're like, even if you beat me up with the right thing, you're just going to knock me out. I've been knocked out. So like, I'm really not worried about what you're going to do to me. So the idea of someone getting in my face and beating me up is like basically comical. So like for someone to like come at me or like, I love it because I'm like, please do, like, please do, because this is going to be the rush of a lifetime. I'm going to love every minute of it. And even if it hurts, I'm going to be fine. Not to mention all the adrenaline is coming with that. So it's just like, that I love about like the being afraid of someone or something is just comical after the motorcycle.
Yeah.
If you can suck that up and go racing the next day, you crash in turn 9 at rolling in 4th gear, and get up the next day, take some Advil, and go back to the track, which I've done multiple times. Like it's like and you can race with your collarbone cracked and your arm dislocated the day before. I popped my shoulder back in and then went out for the next race. It's like, dude, at this point, I don't. You're gonna have to be like MMA. Put me in a position and snap my arm in half and make me lay there in agony and stand on my chest afterwards.
Yeah.
Like just do whatever you got to do, pal. It's like
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I'm the same way. It's hard to keep my mouth shut, especially, dude. With me, especially when I really believe in something. It's yeah. You could,
That I sure do. Yeah, when I'm passionate about something, I'm gonna.
bro. That's it. I'll fight you tooth and nail. I'll fight Mike Tyson straight up, right? Yeah, I'm gonna get knocked out, but I'm gonna get back up, still running my mouth, right? I mean, let's just be honest. It's
Same.
yeah, well, especially when you're possible, man. But dude, listen, Seth, this has been a lot of fun, man. I had a lot of fun. There's still so much more that we need to talk about and touch base on. So we'll definitely set up a part 2 of this. But before we get off here, Seth, I need to give all your shouts out. Tell everybody where they can find you, your business, the whole 9.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, most of the links to most of the stuff I do is probably easiest to find on Facebook. I've got 3 or 4 websites with the businesses and all that, and I won't bore you to death with that. I don't really get on Instagram much, so if you can find me on there, good luck. It's all good. If you type me into Google, you find me. So that's the one good thing. If you type my name into Google, you'll find me pretty easily. And then I'm sure because of the podcast, you can see my Facebook page, and there's links to all my stuff on there. So if anybody has any question or needs some suspension or needs to figure out what to do with their retirement or get one, then shoot me a message.
100%. So, folks, there it is. You guys have it. Before I get off here, I got to give my shouts out. And you already guys know what I'm going to go to is Bison. Join the herd. Simply the best, amazing people in the industry, at least in my opinion. Robert and Tasha, they're awesome. I got to give a big shout out to my man. Sorry, I had Gary from the clothingkings.co.uk. Anybody over there in the UK looking for Pendergast merch and get hats, beanies, jackets, all that good stuff. I appreciate all the love and support. Big shout out to RD Racing and my man Jake Marsh out there in BSB. He races in the GP2 class. Big shout out to him. He has a Club 45. He's looking for people to help. He's an up and coming legend. So do me a favor and go sign up for his club and join him. It's for a good cause. Big shout out to Juju, Jillian Carrera, man. Absolutely, dude. A legend in the making, up and coming, straight from SFL Mini GP, just like Avery the Lap Slayer, Isaac Woodworth, Ella Dreyer. I mean, the list goes on. Big shout out to them. So if anybody's in Florida, you ain't even got to be in Florida. Anybody in the United States looking to get to learning how to ride, you don't need nothing. There's no excuses with SFL Mini GP. You pay your registration, you show up. You don't even have to have boots, jacket, leathers, helmets, none of that. It's all provided for you, even the bike. So it's no excuses. You'll have the most fun in your life. Seth will tell you that. Everybody else that's been on the podcast will tell you the same thing, right? Big shout out to my man Tate at 64 Degree Racing. He made me a custom undersuit 2-piece, and it's one of the best I've ever put on in my lifetime. And I've had Alpine Star, RS Tachi, and Revit, and all these other brands, right? Under Armour and Nike, right, and all that. But yeah, so big shout out to him, man. And man, I feel like I'm forgetting, man. There's so many Chef Eats. I know everybody heard of Chef Eats, right? Super fast, super good food. So you guys show him a bunch of love too as well. Big shout out to BSB Barmy Army, Seth out there in the UK. His program, what he does is he has a rider fund program. We'll get like teams. Let's say like out here, I'll go to like Chris Ulrich and M4, Tyler Scott and all them, and get like a hat signed or a shirt or something like that. And then you auction it off. You take that money, and it's a nonprofit organization, and then you help out up and coming riders. So let's say Trenton Casey needed a new pair of boots, but he couldn't get them. Well, guess what? BSB Barmy Army steps up and gives them a pair of Alpine Star Super Tech 10 boots, right? Or the Super Tech R boots. Yeah, and don't ask nothing for in return. It's simply an amazing program they have. So listen, if I forgot to shout out anybody, I'm looking over my shoulder. I apologize, but you guys know I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for I can't even talk right now. Yeah, right. Tuning into this episode. Do me a huge favor, you guys. Please go like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm on everywhere but Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it. I'm there. The only reason why I'm not on Apple is because I need a new computer, which it's in the works right now. But yeah, I appreciate it, Seth. It's been an absolute honor to have you on. I need you to stay on with me for a couple more minutes so we can reset up our new one. The next one, I'm looking down because Jarrett just said that's a nice bike on the event page. The owner must be a very handsome man.
He is a very large, handsome man.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much, dude. We got Gabriel DeSelvia in the house. What is up, man? Loved your show last night on my buddy Dustin Corners. That's, dude, so big shout out to Dustin Corner, Track Days. Everybody knows who he is, dude. He wore my Pin to Gas podcast on his podcast last night, my shirt. So nothing but love to Dustin. He has a podcast called Talking Motorbikes. It's absolutely amazing with Ricky Bobby. You guys go check it out and tune in. And yeah, until next time, you guys already know who I am. As Jules says, Chris, the whole effing show Simcoe, my man Seth Starnes in the house. And yeah, we will see you guys next time.
Thank you for watching, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for watching. Again, nothing but love for everybody. All right, dude. Seth